This week on the OneCast, we're going to break down MLF BPT's 2025 schedule.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, God, it's a toad, son. It's a toad, dude.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's going to be a bad day.
What's going on, folks? Welcome back to the OneCast. Today we're breaking down the 2025 season for Major League Fishing. We were just joking here because none of us look back at what we said.
We don't have to because I was right.
I don't think you were right.
Yeah, 100% I won.
We're
That's
talking
why.
about the BPT, not Ben, Pete, and Trey, but the Bass Pro Tour has been alluded to. And I don't know what we talked about last year with this. I know there's been a lot of changes, but we're going to talk about that today.
Yeah, we'll dive into it in a few minutes. But before we do that, I guess we got some housekeeping to do.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone go on their App Store or Google Playlist, whichever device you have, and download the Deep Dive app. We've been working with those folks for several months now. We have used the app before they even became friends of the podcast. It's great to help plan your fishing trips and make adjustments. And I want to point out a new feature that was actually released today. Braden over there sent me the email, and I brought it up here. But they now have a new feature that's called the stream flow. So you can go on any of your lakes pretty much around the country. And whereas before they had, okay, I'm at the start, man. I'm messing this up.
No, they got new features on there, like you were talking about. They got the new stream flow. So it used to have like the wind blown points and the water discharge points.
Yeah, so it would have like the tributaries coming in.
Yep.
Or it still has that now, but it's an active feature where you can click on those streams. And then you can see the current flow rate, the flow rate in those little tributaries or the little streams coming into the draws and pockets. And then it's got a forecast for the next 7 days. So it's going to be a great feature, especially early in the year. You get a warm rain, 60 degrees out, you get a rain. Then you can go predict, okay, which areas of the lake are going to have most of that warm water come in, and you can target the fish there.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to use that during the tournament season this year. Just like we did last year before we even partnered with those guys. And I'll tell you what, all those features are phenomenal. The data they use, like you talk about all the time, is great data. And just make sure that you guys go in there. If you're not going to do the full year subscription, check that trial period out. But I promise you, it's cheaper than buying 10 packs of soft plastics from a lot of places, except for OneCast Fishing, where you need to head on over to OneCastFishing.com. Use the code TheOneCast, all one word. Save some money at checkout. Get your hands on those Nighthawks, the Warthogs, all the snagless jigs, the weedless net heads, the merchandise that's over there at Ben's great website, which has been supporting this show since day one. We really appreciate them. So use that code, save some money, and join the snagless revolution. Where else do you need to go?
Yeah, then go grab yourself some UPF gear at CarolinaWatersNC.com. Once again, the code there is the OneCast, all one word at checkout. Save yourself some money. They've got the new UPF shirts for 2025. They still got some left over from last year, and they're always bringing out new T-shirts and UPF style. They've got new gloves, different colors coming, so you can get everything you need to keep yourself protected for a day out there on the water, with the exception of eyewear. But for that, you just use the link in the description, which is going to take you to Hobie Eyewear. Grab yourself a pair of those floating frames. Whatever lens color you want, I definitely suggest getting at least two pairs, one of them being in the Sightmaster Plus for those low light condition days, early in the morning, late in the evening. They do a great job of pulling in that extra light and allowing you to see when most folks can't. It gives you an advantage in those early spring tournaments or bed fishing tournaments. If you get a cloud covered day where you can't see as good, that's like the cheat code for those days, because it really helps you see in those conditions. So make sure you grab those.
I do want to say something real quick before you move on to our last great partner that we just started with here. You know, these the Hobie Eyewear, one of the things I really like about the Everglades and the Mojo float frames, they wrap around the sides of your eyes really nicely. You know, we talk about fishing a lot, but there's a lot more activities outside of fishing that these glasses are applicable with. One of those being shooting. Now, I'm not going to give you the rating, the ballistic rating or anything like that, but I can tell you that I've taken a tungsten weight to the eye with the lenses in, and it saved my eye. And Pete's wife was the culprit of that one. You know, so I was speaking to a lot of law enforcement agents today about the particular eyewear that they use, and there's a lot of different brands out there. And of course, like, government's going to purchase what they purchase. But if you're an avid shooter, you like competitive shooting, or you just like recreational four-wheeling, ATV riding, all that good stuff, outdoors activities, hunting. Sightmaster is actually really good for hunting. Use that link that Pete talked about, because they're not only great on the water, man. And so really cool to see some of my buddies this year going to be using Hobie Sun eyewear when they do the world's toughest row, which is from California to Hawaii in a straight line distance. I think it's 2,800 miles. They're definitely going to stay protected using Hobie eyewear. So check those out. Use that link.
I will throw a legal disclaimer in there. They have 0 ballistic rating. They have no
Yeah.
protective rating. So don't try to wear them at work or anything, because you will get in trouble.
Yeah.
But they do hold up well to taking a hit. So if you're not required to have stamped eyewear and you don't want to wear safety glasses when you're riding your quad, they'll do a good job, because I broke 2 pair of Treys.
Mm-hmm.
My wife broke one, and then my chandelier in my new house broke one. So
Yeah.
when he slammed his face into it. But yeah, make sure you check them out. They're good for all of your outdoor activity. I just wanted to make sure we put that out there so you don't get in trouble for trying to wear them to work.
Use your issued stuff if you have some.
If you have
Listen, the issued stuff is not great, right? But if you have to wear it for liability,
So Hobie, if you're
Go for
listening, you know,
yeah, Hobie, get a government contract. You'd be good.
You might want to pump out some of that rated stuff. And then, last but not least, Terry Carpenter, licensed NC real estate agent with Coldwell Banker, Howard Perry in Walston. Newest partner on the show. He's also a partner with us for our fishing tournament season this year. That's Trey and I. So make sure you head over and check him out. You can search him 4x4 Realtor on Instagram, Terry Carpenter Realtor on Facebook. We have him linked on all of our stuff, so you can find him that way. If you're looking for a home in central North Carolina, or really anywhere in the state of North Carolina, Terry would probably help you out no matter where you were. Make sure you hit up Terry. He's going to do a great job for you. He's going to do everything he can to find you the home of your dreams. He's a bass angler, so he understands our specific needs with garages and charging boats and floor drains and all that kind of stuff, security, whatever it may be. So make sure you check out Terry Carpenter, licensed NC Realtor with Caldwell Banker, Howard Perry, and Walston, our newest partner. And he's going to find you your dream home.
Good deal.
Yeah, man, he found you your guys' home.
Yeah.
So
I tell you what it is. It's cold in here.
it's freezing.
So the day we're filming this, we just got that deep freeze down here in the south. We only had maybe about an inch of snow or kind of a dusting, but down in New Orleans and Pensacola, Florida, I mean, they got feet of snow. Well, not quite feet, but they got inches upon inches of snow out there, and it's hard to believe the fishing season is starting today.
Yes, it is.
Oh yeah, there was an open. First day was delayed.
Well, when this episode drops is the first day.
First day of Major League Fishing.
And that's right. The open is it started, but like
It was supposed to start.
the national tours, they're starting today on the 30th. So
Insane, dude. Like seeing a lot of the anglers post their practices, their for the tournaments, they got their boats are covered in snow. A lot of these states are getting record snows and stuff like that. Plow trucks from the north and other parts of the country are coming down to assist. But outside of the snow, it's just frigid cold. I'm tired of it. I'm ready to get back to fishing. I'm ready to just open the garage door and enjoy some sunshine. Hopefully we get that here soon, but you're absolutely right, Ben. BPT kicks off time now, and that's and we're going to go through their schedule. So as you guys are listening to this, they're on Lake Conroe, Texas.
Before
right now
we talk about Conroe, though, just some format changes for this year. If you're a fan and you haven't been following, they've cut the field. It was supposed to be 65 anglers this year. I think they've ended up with 66. So they're done with the Group A, Group B. All 66 anglers are fishing days 1 and 2. Every fish counts again. Minimum weight for the first tournament on Conroe is 1 pound 8 ounces. That's usually the minimum. I think there's a couple lakes where they bump that up to 2 pounds, but every fish counts. There's one of 3 2.5 hour periods they can use forward facing and or 360 sonar. The rest of them, they will not be able to use that technology. So I don't know if they've come out and said, well, they have to have an official on every boat. So that's how they'll police that. So first 2 days, all 66 anglers, they do a cut to 19 anglers on day 3, which is their knockout round. And then the top 10 from that will go to the championship round. They do zero the weight for the knockout round and the championship round. So the first 2 days is combined weight over those 2 days to make the 19 knockout round. And then it resets. Top 10 go to the final day, resets again, and that's where we'll find our champion for BPT.
Yeah, so a few changes, with a much smaller field. You don't have to have Group A and Group B anymore. Everyone can fish on the first 2 days, which I don't think it really. I don't know if that has up there. I assume they're going to have coverage now at the entire tournament because that was, that was kind of the gripes last year. The first couple of days they didn't have coverage for day one of Group 1, 1 and 2, or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
So that would be it. And I did and recommend everyone, if you're curious who was fishing this year, a lot of familiar names, but there's one name that wasn't on there.
Oh, who's that?
BD.
Oh yeah. Boyd Duckett's name's not on there. Yeah. Well, interesting. I mean, they had to
he finally caught himself, even though he never should have been in the league to begin with.
Well, I mean, they finally, they went through and I don't think they took like a bunch of years in the past as their averages. I think they looked at last year's.
No, there was a period over X number of years.
Was there?
Yeah. And then look, a lot of folks left to either take legend exemptions or maybe go to the opens. And so whatever their initial plan was, they had to adjust fire to get to 66 here.
I'm pretty sure the average was, if they've been there since the beginning, they got their average from the beginning.
Yeah, and I heard that last year. Like it's kind of a, it's kind of a disservice to those guys that just got in there last year because they didn't have an average. I know Matt Steffen was cut from the BPT. He's the owner of I think he's the owner of Core Tackle, makes that little forward facing sonar jig head deal. But he published a video talking about it. He's not going to go back and try to fish MLF. I think he's going to go the opens route. But, they had to make the business decision to do what they needed to do, but it'll be interesting to see. There's like you said, a lot of household names. Everyone on that list, for the most part, that I can think of has been catching them before the technology, right? Or we're talking forward facing. So I'm curious. I don't know if it's going to hurt the guys that are like the staple names, like the Jacob Wheelers and the Dustin Connells and stuff like that. But I'm wondering if it's going to help the other ones.
Yeah. So I was thinking about that too, because look, all those guys can catch them with or without the technology. But some of those guys are particularly good with the technology, and it was part of their whole strategy. And I think we saw that over the last several years. But the fact you can only use it for one period and you have to declare that before the period, there's going to be some strategery involved there, some strategy. And then it'll be interesting because it's still every fish counts. So if it was a 5-fish format, some guy can go catch his 5 fish on forward face, and it doesn't matter what he does the rest of the day. But you can't do that. You're going to have to keep catching fish the entire day through each period. So it's going to change some things. It's going to change how folks strategize their time on the water, and maybe they'll make drastic changes, between periods, just based upon what they find in practice.
So you guys have never been on Lake Conroe, Texas before, have you? What we do know about it is it's just north of what would you say, Houston?
Yep.
20,000 acre lake or something like that. So in your guys' opinion, if you were fishing that event, not knowing a whole lot about Conroe, when would you schedule your forward-facing sonar?
So as we go through the schedule here, in Conroe kicked off today, and this is kind of the only place I'm not really familiar with. There hasn't been a major tournament there, I think, since BPT went their first or second season. Now, I think there has been a classic on Conroe in years past. It's only 20,000 acres, and that's something we were talking about before. Is that's with a smaller field, ideally they can go some of these smaller lakes and places. Now we'll see the schedule here. That wasn't necessarily the case. They've got a lot of the TVA lakes on there and big water, but it will be interesting that I don't think it's going to fish overcrowded. It's got both, I think, shoreline, vegetation, laydowns, it's got the hydrilla, I think, in it too. So I think there's a lot of different ways to catch them. And that, I'm sure it's been cold down there, so I'm sure it's going to be a wintertime kind of, offshore type of bite, probably.
Yeah,
unless they're in the grass. I mean, I don't really know what to expect from Conroe.
I mean, so do they have to declare when they use their scope in 360 after practice?
So you have to declare.
I think it's the day of what you have to declare.
Okay,
you just have to declare it before the period.
So it'd be super interesting if they had to declare it before they even practiced, because that would suck.
No,
but practice is gonna like dial those guys in to when they need to use it. For me, looking at the time of the year and how freaking cold it's been, I'm probably going to use forward-facing sonar in the first period.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I'd probably wait. I'd let it warm up and get those fish get active.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's yeah. I mean that's an option, but like when you think of the strategy of the other way, is like first thing in the morning when they're not active,
Right.
you try to pick a couple off, and then hopefully, I mean, it depends on how the weather shapes up, but
Sure.
if it starts warming up, probably throughout the day, those fish are going to move up shallower.
That's what I was thinking, right? If there's rock and there's timber and stuff like that, you know, if it's a nice bright blue bird sky day with sunny conditions, they might slide up a little bit later, but it could have the reverse effect, right? It could be cloudy all day. It could be raining. We don't know. So I think it's going to be a crapshoot, but I think.
And right now it's supposed to be high 40s, mid to high 40s as the low. And then during the tournament, looks like mid to high 60s, maybe even 70-degree days. So it'll be pretty normal, but it was only 48 there today.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's going to be.
All right. So so Lake Conroe, Texas, it's going on right now. In 4 days, somebody's going to know who the winner is. Who are you calling for the winner of this tournament, Pete?
Yeah, it's probably going to be like Wheeler. I mean, everybody said every time they've thrown something out there was going to stop him. Remember, they went to 5 fish.
Yeah.
And he couldn't compete, so he went out and won AOI.
Are you just going to pick Wheeler for each one?
Not for everyone, but
Yeah.
I think he probably somebody in that house. Like they have, I think, the most diverse house.
Yeah.
I don't think the forward facing is as big a deal as everybody makes it out to be for those guys. And if they find the right period where they're going to use it, that's I think any one of you look at him or what's Dustin Connell, and those two get the right period of forward facing, and they might put 40 pounds in the boat in one period.
And then they're done.
And then, who's catching up with that? So I don't think that only one period is a big enough disadvantage with how good those guys are.
Yeah.
I think that they're going to find the right time. To Trey's point, maybe it is when the fish are less active, or like for me, another reason I said afternoon is because we saw 2 Elite Series events that were spawn events get one offshore last year.
Yeah.
So we know some of those bigger fish will be offshore. And the year before too, they won dang Okeechobee in the river.
Yeah.
Something that's never happened. Ever. Yeah. Not even if there was a fire. Like
and that was Tyler Rivette unlocked.
He went in there with a jerkbait and won
Mm-hmm.
using forward facing on Okeechobee. And then the next week, Joey Cifuentes wins a bed fishing tournament in 20 some foot of water and timber with a drop shot and a minnow. So I think if you find the right period, you can or at least enough fish in the boat to where you can struggle a little bit shallow. Not that those guys will. We all know they can fish. Jacob Wheeler, I think everybody forgets how good that dude is with a frog and flipping. He won a lot of money early in his career. He won a blue trophy,
and
he won FLW. Like the dude can hammer him. And I just it's got to be him or like an Alton Jones or an Alton Jones senior, junior, just because that's sort of a home lake for them. They're Texas guys. I'm sure they've got some time on the lake.
And so I think Edwin Evers won it last time MLF won.
Oh, they've been to Conroe. I didn't pull up.
Yeah, it was like the first or second season.
Okay.
And then I just pulled up the 2017 Classic when it was there. So these are the names of just the top 10 in the Classic finish that are still on BPT. Bert Ayler was 3rd. Jason Elam was 4th. Ott Defoe was 5th. Jared Littner was like 7th.
Wow.
And then Edwin Evers was 10th.
We're old, bro.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, you just called out to like are a lot of OGs, but man, like let's not forget Ott Defoe and Edwin Evers, right? Those guys got tons of experience. If I was gonna shoot for a newer guy, like I would definitely put Drew Gill up there because he's so good. But at the end of the day, like I don't know how much. I doubt it, but I don't know how much he relies on that technology, but I know that he's really, really good with it. But then I look at the OGs like Evers and Defoe and Mark Rose and Wheeler. And Wheeler's an OG. He ain't young anymore.
I know kids, I know dudes don't want to admit it, but Wheeler's been smacking him in the mouth for a long time.
So,
getting close
all
to
right,
a decade,
he's calling Wheeler. Who you calling?
Let's just go
You can call him too. And
Let's
you
go
don't-
Evan Evers.
Okay, you're going, and I'm going to go with Drew Gill on this one.
That's a good one.
Yep, he's got a lot of momentum going into the season. So
I do not think it's going to be a spawn event at all.
I don't
Not
think
there.
so.
No,
I don't
not
think
with this
so.
cold snap.
No, that's cool.
It was setting up that way. They were starting to get warming trends and everything, and then this cold front mashed them in the face.
Yes,
So
it did. Yeah.
That's going to set it back quite a bit.
Yep.
Definitely not going to make up in a week. So
And then just 10 days after that,
Harris chain.
is stage 2 is the
Mm.
Harris chain down in Leesburg, Florida, so just northwest of Orlando, and maybe that's about the time we'll be down there. I don't know. I'm not gonna go the Harris chain this time.
No?
Well, no, I mean, I want to go to Headwaters and the Kissimmee chain in Toho because I've been in the Harris chain. I've done Okeechobee, so those 2 on my bucket list for Florida, and then that's the only last one I have to do there is St. John. So.
Stage shoot the Harris chain, February 13th through 16th.
And that could be
That'll probably be a spawn event.
it just depends how fast it warms up with those Florida bass.
They've had the right weather other than this last week of cold.
If anything, it might help them.
Yeah, it may delay.
It might
things
help 'em.
where
It might delay a little bit.
yeah.
Yeah. So I was down there several years ago, basically that time. I was like there probably a week before, and that's when my engine blew up and I left, and all the fish moved up and spawned those 2 weeks I was gone. And then when I got back down there, there was very few spawners, and it was mostly an offshore thing. So there's probably going to be spawning fish somewhere on the Harris chain, but I suspect someone's going to win it off in eelgrass or hydrilla. I don't know this year how the Harris chain's shaping up. I don't know how much they sprayed and
they have or haven't sprayed.
so
I mean, last year was pretty grimy, from my understanding. The Harris chain was. St. John showed out a lot better than Harris chain. I mean, obviously for the Elite Series when they were there, Corey Johnston won his very first blue trophy on St. John's River. I think he was fishing that clear water and spawn. But Harris chain was kind of grimy this year. But I think the Harris chain, I think it is going to be a spawn event, and I think it's going to be one shallow. And the only reason I say that is because they're limited to one period with forward-facing sonar, right?
Oh, I mean, that's true. Absolutely. Now, and it just depends on how much
If
grass
you look
there
at
is.
all the events too that have been fishing the Harris chain since forward-facing sonars come about, it hasn't really been the dominant. That's just a chain of lakes that fishes shallow. You don't necessarily need it. You can use it a little bit in the eelgrass and stuff, but
like if you're around a bunch of that grass and all, unless you're fishing a very defined line, like a hydrilla line or something. But like, you could be out in the middle of the lake and you're on 4 foot of water with eelgrass all around. So
that's
it's just
true.
trying to find the right areas that are holding fish.
I want to say, and I could be wrong, but I think Fouts had an area all to himself last year on the Elite Series fishing the Harris chain. He was doing that. I think it was Fouts, if I'm not mistaken. It could be somebody else, but somebody had some part of that Harris chain to themselves, and they were absolutely mashing them. But unfortunately, it was a 5-fish limit deal, and he wasn't mashing the right ones. But if it would have been a BPT deal, he would have been up there.
And
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it will be interesting because, when they take off, and actually I think they do. I don't think they blast off together.
No, they run to their deal.
They run to their spots, and they don't have to be back in the day. So a Popka may be a much bigger player.
Oh yeah, that's a good call.
Now a lot of times you don't catch as many fish down there, but
there's
a reason why people are willing to make that. I think it's almost a 2-hour run or something.
Yeah.
Once you go through all the canals and that lock only takes 3 boats.
Yeah.
So they don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
So that would be interesting too to see how that plays in.
Yeah, I can't remember how they all have to put in at the same time. I think there's like a time they can put in, and then there's a lines in time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you may not be all the way down there by the time lines in.
I think my call for this one, I'm going to go with one of the Lane brothers, probably Bobby, right? Florida native, really, really good on the toe.
Well, I'm going to run away then because Florida natives don't win Florida lakes.
But yeah, and very well could be the deal. But I think if Lane chooses a Popka and he gets up in there, he's probably got anybody's got a good chance, but he is one of the better at flipping, big baits, big worms and stuff like that, punching. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of punching going on, but I think he's going to have a shot. So I'm going to call Bobby Lane as being the victor in this tournament.
There is one Florida fisherman who has probably won more money. Well, there's maybe one other guy that's won more money than them, and they fish together, and his name's Keith Carson.
Yeah,
and he's won a metric ton of money on the Harris Chain of Lakes.
Yep.
Has fished about everything there is to fish there, and I think this might be his derby. It's setting up, doing what he likes to do. I think it's going to be a good one for him, so I'm going to pick Keith in this one. I usually do shy away from the Florida guys, but you don't bet against Carson and Cox.
I think Poche's got a good chance in this one.
That's a good one too.
Getting that shallow, if he finds that a good shallow like flip and bite, would be great. Now, if it turns into a spawn event, like they're all on beds and canals and stuff, I mean that's I think you're right. Some of your guys might do a little bit better.
Yeah,
but
that turns into anybody's game too.
It really does.
There's nobody really.
I mean,
just looking at it again, like guys, there's nobody there that's really like that guy's a bed fisherman, like a Drew Cook or somebody that when there's a bed fishing tournament, they're going to be near the top. I don't really. Nobody really jumps out to me.
Alton Jones is really good at bed fishing.
Yep. Alton Jones.
Yep.
I know what Skeet Reese is going to do. He's going to go out there and drag a speed worm in front of a line of grass.
Hopefully he's
done that before.
Hopefully he's using a OneCast Fishing long neck hook.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Skeet, if you're listening to this, you need to go on to OneCastFishing.com, get yourself the long neck hooks.
He'll have them for Reese Tackle, whatever his company's name is.
But it'll be that's gonna. I'm looking forward to.
Me too.
And that Florida event, the Harris Chain, and I've always found it fascinating how it changes.
Yep.
Because the elites went last year. It changes so much year to year. Yeah. And from week to week, it gets a lot of pressure though. So there's always
the Fishers of Men National Championship last year was on the Harris Chain of Lakes. And from what we were told through our buddy Mike Johns it was an absolute smash fest. Like those guys were whacking them. But I don't know what time of year that was. We're talking February.
February.
Yeah, February. So I think it'll be good. I think you're probably going to see the biggest fish of the year come out of the Harris Chain of Lakes. Hopefully that time.
I don't know. The next one has a potential.
But no, I mean of Florida, of the Harris Chain itself. But maybe I don't know if Florida rebounds in a year like, unlike other lakes, but it was grimy last year. And
that was a grass thing. There was a huge lack of grass.
Yeah, huge lack of grass. So
the lakes that had the grass, they smashed them like they do everywhere. It's just they sprayed some of the more popular lakes last year. So lakes that guys knew and fished, they stuck to them because they didn't know the other areas. But if you looked at like some of the local tournaments and the local BFLs and stuff, the guys that knew the Harris Chain went to lakes with grass and the weights were the same, like they always were. The Fishers of Men was there before they sprayed,
and they whacked.
And it was like the second week of February, and they just mashed them in the face.
Yep.
And then I think the week after they sprayed, killed the lake or the grass in a couple of those lakes. And then it was something, a Toyota went there, I think, and it was like 3 pounds a day needed to catch a check or something ridiculous, because it just changes it when they spray the grass. So it'll be interesting. We'll see. That lake will rebound plenty quick. Those fish didn't go anywhere.
No,
they just didn't know how to catch them without grass.
Yeah.
If they had a North Carolina boy there, they probably went out there and schwacked them.
If you can catch a bass in North Carolina, you can catch them in a mud puddle in Jersey.
I mean, and look, in some of those fish that are coming or going, there'll be some shell guys catch things on shell beds and stuff too still. So I mean, there's going to be
shell beds always play on.
The other thing too, before we move on, is I don't know how much the hurricane this year affected anything in those systems, right? I know the St. John's got overly flooded. The MPFL canceled that event as they had to for their last derby for the year. But I don't know how the chains got affected by the hurricane.
It doesn't seem like hurricanes affect those chain lakes as much as they do the river systems.
Yeah.
Like take Okeechobee for chance. It gets blasted about every year, and all it does is move the mats.
Yeah.
And the fish just kind of chill with it.
Yeah.
So I don't think it impacts the chain lakes, the various chains as much. And Harris Chain, I don't think really got hammered too bad last year.
No,
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think so.
They took a lot because Helene came through Tampa basically. Off Tampa, so that's about
like Winter Haven got whacked. And stuff like that.
Winter Haven's like just kind of southwest of Orlando. And then Harris Chain's just to the northwest. So I mean, it was affected, but that's Florida. I mean, those fish are used to it. So it'll just
a cold front will do more than
a hurricane.
A hurricane. Like you would not want to be there. If they were going to the Harris Chain first, Next week would be absolutely the most miserable fishing you've ever seen in Florida.
Yeah.
Because we have like 25% Florida strain bass here. When it gets cold, they don't know. They forget how to eat.
You might as well go
Imagine if the
crappie fishing.
open. Imagine if the open was there this week. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be terrible.
Well,
And then they head to Murray.
I know. That is the lake I'm looking forward to.
First week of March. So about a month before we go.
Yeah.
There.
You guys
That's
be,
right.
You guys will be glued to it.
I will.
I'll watch that one a little bit.
I will watch Stage 3, Lake Murray, Columbia, South Carolina. That is going to be, in my opinion, a pre-spawn smash fest.
That's really going to help us know what the fish are doing.
Absolutely.
Because that's a month before. So depending on how they're catching them, if the weather stays stable and we can look at warming trends and stuff, we can have a pretty good idea of what is going on. So for me, selfishly, I don't watch a lot of the BPT events just because I don't like their coverage, and everybody who listens to our show knows that. I might watch a little more now that Boyd's not fishing, and that's nothing against Boyd. I just was morally disagreed with the decision to let himself continue to fish when he was in the dead last 5 spaces in every tournament. And he lost some other guys because he decided to keep fishing. So that was for me. I don't know if moral is the right word, but that was,
I mean, it was.
I just didn't agree with the business decision he made, and I didn't watch it because of that. So I might watch a little more this year because I think it's going to be a little more interesting with 66 anglers all at the same time. The two group thing, I don't know, just annoying to me because you didn't know who was in what group.
Oh yeah.
Like I just wasn't a fan of the format. I like it a lot better now, but yeah, Murray is one I'm definitely going to watch.
Yep.
And you're absolutely right. Like for you two getting ready for the national championship for Fishers and Men, like
a month ahead.
A month ahead. If it's a
week before it goes off limits.
Yeah, so if it's going to be one of those things, of course, all your competition is going to be watching it too. But,
of course.
But if it should be a solid pre-spawn event, like there might be a few on beds, but if the weather keeps up like we are now, unless it drastically warms up fast, I think it's going to.
They're going to be. Yeah, I think they'll be pre-spawn.
They're going to be pre-spawn. So but that will give you guys where are they at in pre-spawn? Are they kind of still that early?
Yeah,
or late winter type of deal? Or are they really starting to stage and it's one of the, you hold the anglers sometimes, we're just here a week later, they're going to move up.
Yeah.
If it's going to be one of those type of deals, I don't think so. I think there's probably going to be.
Yeah. I mean, polar opposite fishery, folks, than the Harris chain of lakes. You know, Lake Murray, South Carolina, 50,000 something acre lake, blueback herring, threadfin shad, obviously brim, all those things. Great, healthy fishery. Vegetation, docks, rocks, you name it. It's got the whole 9 yards. I think that the northern part of the lake is going to be on fire. I truly do.
Up the river part?
I think you're going to see the Saluda play, but I think the northernmost part of the lake on those pre-spawn staging points, whether or not that's on a rock bank or a point, secondary point, whatever, or primary dock systems with brush piles on them or whatever, I think you're going to see glide baits thrown. I think you're going to see spinner baits, crank baits. I think you're going to see that kind of stuff really shine in this event.
I think you'll see a lot of jerk baits around the hydrant.
And I think you're going to see jerk baits too, right? So I don't know if top water's really going to play, but I think that you're going to see the northern end of the lake play. And you got a local.
Someone's going to catch one on a frog.
Yeah. And so, so Gagliardi has won on Lake Murray before in the FLW. I think he won a Forest Wood Cup, or maybe it was just a regular event. I think it was a cup.
I thought it might be a cup.
Yeah, I think he won a Forest Wood Cup there. And, he was in that event, it was way later in the year. He's throwing a donkey rig on those herring spawning fish and stuff like that, herring eating fish. But I think Gagliardi, he's due, and I think he's going to be one to contend with in this event. What do you guys think about Murray?
I think Brian Thrift's got a great chance.
Oh,
there.
Yeah, it's a good one. Smoke.
And maybe even Alan Jones Jr. I guess I have a feeling this might be a good play for him.
Yeah.
But those would kind of be my two I would maybe keep an eye out for. I mean, we're all just shooting in the dark here because who knows that, fishing's it's anyone's game. Any lake, anyone can go from top to bottom. But those would be kind of the two I think are going to play well there.
I'm going to go with somebody that everybody always forgets about absolutely how good he is and how much he's dominated. early in the year, especially, and that's Michael Neal.
Michael Neal.
He's like the most forgotten about dude in bass fishing that's won more money
I
than
tell you what,
most. That guy is an absolute hammer.
he's also going to smoke him.
He's
with the Harris chain.
I know he was one I was thinking of the Harris chain. I just know Keith has so much experience on those bodies of water, and with just the kind of weird winter we've had. But I really think Murray is going to set up for Michael Neal. He likes fish grass. He's used to those Tennessee River lakes. If he can find fish schooled up, he's a tough one to beat. And if they're stacked up pre-spawn, he's a guy that's got a bunch of tricks on how to catch this.
Do you guys, little fun fact? Do you guys? I guess it would be a fact. I've heard him say it, but do you know what his absolute favorite fishing technique is?
I know he loves a chatterbait, but I don't
Michael Neal, at least from what I've heard in some of his other interviews and his podcasts, he's a huge shaky head fan.
Oh,
huge shaky head.
makes sense. Tennessee,
yeah, jig head worm. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, Michael Neal is fantastic. I mean, they're all great anglers. And I got to thinking about this a second ago as I said, who did I say? Who did I say for my pick? Gagliardi, because he's a local boy. But thinking about, it's kind of hard to find somebody that can beat like Edwin Evers and Ott Defoe at like shallow cranking, right? And it's hard to beat guys like you would look at Jason Christie and Andy Morgan throwing spinnerbaits and jigs and stuff like that. So I think it's any man's game. I'm going to still call Gagliardi because he's a local. I'd like to see him pull something special out. But yeah, Lake Murray's going to show out, man. It's going to be good. As long as they don't get 500-mile-an-hour winds, like, because at that time of the year,
the wind.
That wind is a huge factor. But I will tell you on that lake, like, wind is your friend as long as you can maneuver around it and through it and stuff like that.
You know who else we forgot?
Who do we
Florida?
forget?
I don't know how we forgot him. D team member Zach Burge. That dude can catch him flipping.
Well, I was gonna call him from some other ones.
Yeah, I don't know how I forgot about Zach. But anyway, and I know Lake Murray's not one of his favorite lakes, so that's why I didn't.
Nobody did damn good in this last.
He did do
NFL
good.
event.
He did.
Yeah.
And then we have Red Crest, maybe the third most important championship in bass fishing.
You're gonna have to bring up the angler list.
That one's in Gunnersville. Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up right now.
Yeah, Gunnersville, Alabama.
April 3rd to 6th.
Gunnersville, Alabama.
Probably still a pre-spawn event there. That's kind of early, I think, for that part of the country. There's probably going to be a few spawners, but it doesn't get quite as warm there as it does here.
It's everybody you would expect to be fishing it.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah, that's a pretty stacked field. Ooh, you got a couple invitational guys in there. So Andrew Nordby, he's going to be fishing, and I'm here to tell you right now.
He's from Gunnersville.
I'm here to tell you right now,
Alabama. Yeah.
If you're going to pick somebody,
so is Chris Lane.
Yeah. So, well, that's funny because So
I'm going to pick Nordby just because
Nordby. Yeah.
So Art Daniels Jr. is an Alabama boy.
Oh yeah, a lot of those guys there did move to Gunnersville. That's a popular lake a lot of those guys live on. Because
I'm gonna go ahead and just pick like
Dustin
the Red Crest Master. That dude for some reason in a Red Crest event just figures out how to catch fish.
Yeah.
But that's another one Zach could do good, and I know he's got some experience on Gunnersville. He's got some really. This is a tough one.
Yeah.
And what are the rules for it? Yeah, you guys can talk.
Because it's.
I'm going to stick with Connell just because
it's still early. It's still early in the year, and I don't know.
So 50, 50, 20, 10. Okay. Total weight, minimum scoreable is 2 pounds. So they bumped it up to 2 pounds.
Now, are they allowed to use live scope all the time for this event?
Red Crest.
Because because in NPFL, their championship, they're going to allow it because that's how they qualify.
It doesn't say.
So that's something we'll have to come back on. We don't know if they're going to stick to normal.
I am going to say yes, they will be able to because they do not call. They called it out in every other one except for this one. If you know, let us know.
Yeah. Can the BPT at Red Crest this year on Gunnersville, can they use forward-facing sonar on 360 all day?
Because that will change it a little bit too.
For sure.
But I'm still going to go Connell just because he's been so
I'm going with you. I'm going with you. And the reason I say this is this.
Nordby?
Nordby has been on an absolute roll in the invitationals. And his YouTube channel, he is constantly on Gunnersville. So he's probably got more waypoints on Gunnersville than anybody in that field, even though they, what I'm saying, like he fishes that religiously. So,
and look, it's an earlier time than most tours go to Gunnersville.
Yeah, it's true.
Because usually
April 3rd through 6th.
Because usually you'll see it in May or early June.
Yeah.
I think Bassmaster went there a couple years ago, or maybe it was MLF, and that's where they got, all the guys who were trying to out on the ledges weren't doing as good, and that's when they were catching them up on frogs in the grass. Who was that?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was a couple years ago, but I think it was like a May or June event still.
Yeah,
but it's a little bit earlier, so it'll be interesting to play to see how the weather is. But I don't think it's going to be a straight spawn event for sure.
I don't think so. Jacob Walker's another local guy I know that's got a lot of experience on that lake. That'll be a fun one.
Yeah, it'll be a good one, man.
50 anglers. So, yeah, but like I said, I'm going to go Connell. I don't know. That dude found
so while they're
for some reason in Red Crest events, that dude just figured out how to catch fish.
So while they're fishing Gunnersville for Red Crest, you and I will be on Lake Murray for our national championship.
Everybody will be watching us.
All right, so we got Red Crest April 3rd through the 6th on Lake Gunnersville, Alabama, and then we move to
Stage 4.
Chickamauga and Nickajack, so Tennessee River Lakes.
TVA systems, and Ben was talking about that earlier.
So is Gunnersville too, I think.
Yeah, but
it is, but that's pretty far down the line.
I'm thinking this is definitely going to be a spawn event.
May 1st through 4th.
Oh, yes.
Chicken.
This is definitely going to be a spawn event. And, this was one of the ones that I'm like, I haven't seen a lot of people, a major tours on chick in a while, but this one right here, I'm calling Jacob Wheeler for this one because he is extremely good on Chickamauga.
Doesn't he live on Chick?
He's won there before.
He lives on one of those.
I think he lives on Chick. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and call him. Tennessee Valley Authority, for those of you who are like, you keep saying TVA, it's Tennessee Valley Authority, right? These are the lakes that are traditional ledge fishing lakes that are current driven and stuff like that. But these lakes are also phenomenal because they're filled with grass. They got giant bass in them. They got all 3 species, I think, in them, if I'm not mistaken. I know Wheeler does. I know Lake Wheeler does. They got spots and smallmouth and largemouth.
And I think they've got the northern strain of.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if they're Alabama spots
or does or not.
But I think this one, I think you're going to see. I think you're definitely going to see Fred Rambanis whipping a frog around, right? Because they'll bite a frog. That
I think
time
Chick, they catch them on a frog year round.
Yeah, they catch them on a frog there. But I think a guy like Jacob Wheeler, who doesn't need forward facing sonar to catch him, I think he's going to be some stiff competition in this deal.
I'm going Mark Daniels Jr.
Okay, Mark, MDJ, man. You say there's 2 guys from the Ding House.
MDJ is due, and I've watched. Everybody that watches the show knows I don't like to watch a lot of YouTube guys just because I don't know, doesn't do anything for me. I know you can learn a lot, but I like to learn by failing. But I did watch him like pre-fishing for a bunch of spawn events, and I really like his philosophy in fishing spawn events. And I think he's a guy that's due one.
Mm-hmm.
He's been around a long time. He's always done things the right way. I know that's like a cliche term, but he's been himself. He's never tried to be somebody different. He just goes out there and has fun fishing. So I'm going to go with MDJ in this one.
Okay.
I think he's going to pull one out. I think he's long overdue for that big event win, and why not do it on Jacob Wheeler's home lake? Plus, he's Alabama too, isn't he?
MDJ. I mean, obviously he's originally from the West Coast, but yeah, I think
he's in Alabama, like
Tennessee.
close to Chick now. One of those.
I think I'm going to go with Mark Daniels Jr. on this one.
Are you?
He's been close.
He's Alabama.
Yeah. He's
Tuskegee. So yeah, he's right there. So he's probably got some time on there. And he's also friends with,
and he's in the house with DC, I think, and
Wheeler
and those guys. So, I'm gonna go Mark Daniels.
He's the last one in the house that hasn't won one.
Yeah.
Nina won one last year.
He came close a couple times.
He's been right there, and I feel like that'll be one for him. And then 2 weeks. This will be a fun one.
May 17th to 22nd
on Smith Mountain Lake. I know some locals up there are not happy because they're going to give that lake up now. But that's heavy hitters.
Heavy hitters, yep.
So that I'll pull the details up again before I pull up the anglers. So we've got so they did A and B.
Mm-hmm.
So two days qualifying. Group A, Group B has 15 anglers in each. So 30 anglers total. 30 total anglers qualified. They cut it to 16 for the knockout round, which is that's because if you win your group, you automatically qualify, so they take an extra. So 16 qualify for the knockout round. Every bass counts.
2 pounds.
2 pound weight limit, 0 to start,
and
10 to the championship.
This one also does not say it's limiting
so
the forward facing sonar too. So
Right.
So more of the traditional MLF all fish count, what we've been used to, 2 qualifying days.
What got me attracted to this was this kind of deal.
Let's see who's in it. So this is Smith Mountain Lake. This is one that no anglers qualified apparently.
So
this is one that no big derbies have gone to in years, and I don't have the angler list because apparently it's broken on their website right now.
So I think the Open or some like the maybe invitational events have gone there in the last few years, but it's been
there hasn't been an Open there in a long time either. It's been
one of the lower circuits. I remember it's been like 4 or 5 years ago.
Might have been a Toyota or something.
Yeah,
maybe.
something like that. So because I remember they had some coverage there I was watching.
That's disappointing. I can't pull up the roster.
Yeah, it's not working. I don't know who.
Internet's working fine. I
don't know who's qualified for the heavy hitter.
Yeah. So I'm not going to begin to guess just yet on who might win that one. I'm gonna have to revisit that when it gets closer. But that's going to be a fun one. I know John Cruz pretty much lives on it. He's been petitioning bass for a long time to come back there. It was on a big downswing for quite a while, and it's really turned around if you look at local derbies and stuff. So that's gonna be a fun one. There's gonna be some big, giant, smallmouth caught, big, largemouth. It's gonna be a good event. Heavy hitters, and they are there May 17th through 22nd. So again, very well maybe a spawn event.
So this was the one that I was gonna pick for Zach Burge, and the reason being is Zach.
If he's in it,
and I think he is in it. I think he qualified for it. I could be completely wrong, but I was hoping that if he did, this was the one that he was going to dominate in. Now, this isn't a regular season event. This is heavy hitters, but Zach Burge is a phenomenal all-around fisherman, but he absolutely smashed him when he was here at the Chowan River. It doesn't fish exactly the same, but it's a great shallow water fishery.
Yeah.
And I think Zach, if he's in it, he's definitely going to be somebody to contend with. But we'll see, man. We'll see. I'm excited to see that. It's really cool that some of these, major tours are coming to our backyard. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So once we can see the roster, we'll definitely talk about it.
Yeah, they definitely don't have it up right now.
Annoying. It's annoying as a podcaster to not know. Somebody's going to win the heavy hitters.
I'm calling Zach Burge. If he's in it, he's winning it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a good pick. There's a lot of guys. That's probably going to be a spawn event.
Mm-hmm.
It's close. It just depends again on weather.
Mm-hmm.
But they're sort of on the same timeline as like Carr, Bugs Island. What's the other bordering lakes?
Gaston.
Mm-hmm. They're all sort of on the same timeline. It's just a little bit further north. So that it's going to be close. Again, weather dependent. It's either going to be pretty heavy spawn or they're pre-spawn with some fish starting to move up. So it's going to be a fun one.
Yep.
They do have smallmouth though. Do spawn a little bit earlier, so it's possible they could be catching small. I don't know how that lake fishes for smallmouth on the bed, but I know there's some big ones in there. Our buddy Alex, who's been on the show that won the co-angler side of the Open on Bugs Island, fishes it a lot. And John spends a lot of time fun fishing that lake. And they catch some giant smallies. So I'm looking forward to that one. And then they go to another lake.
And I am really excited for this one.
That's rebounded.
Yep.
This lake is apparently rebounded. It is Kentucky Lake. I just remember, it's probably been 8 or 9 years at this point. It was some of the old Bassmaster events there. It was a straight up ledge fishing event. And it was, I remember the championship Sunday, it was whoever got to the spot, because they both fished it, and you had to put your boat in one position and make the exact cast.
Yep.
And they both pulled up there. I forget who beat them and who won in that event. Well, they were fishing bumper to bumper, but the guy who got there second couldn't catch a fish, and so he ended up to leave. So that event was a ledge fishing event. I love those events. It'll be particularly interesting now. It's kind of going back to old school because you're only going to be able to use your forward facing sonar for one period. So People are going to have to be side scanning and the old school techniques. Although I will say, I was talking to someone, I think it might have been at the Raleigh show, that because we were talking about Kentucky Lake, and he had been from there, and it doesn't, even though it's on a rebound right now, it doesn't fish like it used to ledge wise. So
Right.
That will change a little.
That's
bit.
probably going to be a spawn event. First week of June, Kentucky Lake. You're right in line with.
Oh no, I think that's going to be post spawn.
That's when our fish are spawn in Pennsylvania, and that's right on the same weather pattern and everything.
It's hot. Trust me, it's not very far from Clarksville.
I think you're
it's
gonna.
not far from.
I think you're gonna.
Clarksville,
Yeah, I think.
Paducah.
Yeah, I think you're
hot.
going to see the. I think you're going to see. I think you're going to see the bank play. I think you're going to see some largemouth caught with a frog and flipping, depending on the water level. I don't know if.
Well, the largemouth are still about extinct in that lake. It's a smallmouth spot.
Well, there's definitely some still some good some largemouth in there. Brian Latimer posted a video of him fishing there last year.
the guy that's going to win is the guy that finds that big wad of smallmouth.
It is, and the smallmouth there in Nordby, he was another one. I think didn't he win this year on Kentucky Lake. I think
I'm not sure.
I think he might have won, or he definitely came in close to winning, but I'll have to check it out. But the stump fields that are offshore hold a crap ton of smallmouth and big ones too. And they're not out there in like 40 feet of water either. We're talking, this isn't like deep offshore fishing. So I think you're going to see a guy that if he finds them with his forward facing sonar, he doesn't need it after that period is over, because as long as he's dialed into where those stump fields and stuff are, I think that's the guy that wins this. And man, I don't know who's going to win this one, but Nordby's another one that has a ton.
He won't be fishing it.
Oh yeah, he's not going to fish it. Yeah, he's an invitational guy. Who's going to win Kentucky Lake?
This is why I'm going to put on
Matt Robertson.
Jacob.
Oh wait, he doesn't fish that. Never mind, sorry.
Now, this is the one I'm picking Wheeler for.
Okay, you're picking Wheeler for this one.
Let me look at the roster because I don't remember who else did.
But I am super excited for this one because it's been a while since Kentucky Lake, and it's one of those. It's always been one of my bucket list lakes to go to because I have driven by it so many times.
I'm going with Jake Lawrence from Paris, Tennessee.
As I'm pulling my
just
boat.
Because that's my brother-in-law's name.
And he doesn't even know who Jake Lawrence is.
No idea who that dude
I'm going to
is.
go with Nick LeBrun.
Okay.
That's a good pick. I'm not really going with Jake Lawrence. I got to make. I mean, he could be him.
No takes. He's
Dude,
dead.
Wesley Strader. Like you got
Yeah.
some guys that have been around. I always forget about Wesley. He's been fishing for 372 years. Shout out Wesley Strader, still doing it.
Hey, he made a funny video with like a big old wig on the other day. It was funny.
There's nobody from Kentucky fishing the BPT. That's wild.
No, but those Tennessee boys are going to do
Yeah,
fine, and Michael Neal's probably going to go crush him with a shaky head offshore, but I think Nick LeBron or Nick
Oregon,
LeBron.
Dayton's not too far. Same
Yeah.
with Michael. Yeah, there's a lot of people that compete in that one. Not
Bradley,
any of them
Bradley
can
Roy.
compete.
I mean, he's from Lancaster.
Yeah, let's go. I'm going Bradley Roy.
There you go.
He looks like a guy.
So everybody's picking like hometown or done well on the lake before. Folks, we're all going to be dead wrong.
Oh yeah.
He's got a career win.
yeah,
That's
so-
$1 million in earnings. Yeah.
1 million.
Bradley
God.
Roy, don't let me down.
All right, there
Or
you go.
Wah if you're Canadian.
Bradley Roy, you heard this.
Is it Roy or Wah?
It's Roy.
You sure?
Bradley Roy.
All right. So then from Kentucky Lake,
To the Potomac River.
Oh, that one's going to be super fun, dude.
that's yep.
That's straight. I'm going with Zach Burge.
Okay.
He's gonna get out there with a slim jig
So,
and just match him in the
If he's
face.
not in heavy hitters, Zach Burge. If he's in heavy hitters, I still think Zach Burge. But folks, Potomac River, tidal fishery, lots of grass, really good areas that hold a lot of fish and a lot of dead water too there. And so I think that one, he hasn't had one in a long time, and so I really think a guy that can find giants. See, this is a numbers game though. And my head always
you got to
freaking.
find those pockets of fish.
I know,
You
but
can just whack a
I'm
bunch
gonna
of
go.
2-pounders.
I'm gonna go with Boom Boom on this one. I'm gonna go with old Boom Boom. Fred Rumbanis, one of the best at throwing a frog. Rojas, yes, you are too. But I'm gonna go with Boom Boom on this one. I don't think he's had a win in the BPT. I don't think ever. And if he has, it's been a long time. I'm going to go with him on the Potomac River tidal fishery. Really great topwater angler. Really great at flipping too. So yep, I'm calling my shot on that one. Ben, who you got?
I think I'm gonna go with Casey Ashley.
Oh, Casey Ashley. I haven't.
You know, I just brought him up here. He's the one who won Smith Mountain back in 2007.
Is he really?
Yeah, like when bass.
So you're going with him on the Potomac, yeah?
Yeah, because
Okay.
he's from South Carolina. I think he kind of grew up, you know, back then. I mean, a lot of the events always fished Potomac or the James River. So,
Okay.
you know, there's some of those tidal fisheries involved being on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's got a good chance.
Yeah. Watch it be like
He was also the youngest person to ever win a Bassmaster event. And that was
yeah.
the Smith Mountain one.
That's right.
Yep.
Mm.
Well, here we go. We got Boom Boom, Fred Rambanis. You got who?
Zach Bird.
Zach Burge, OB Dog, and you got Casey Ashley. And that really sums up the Potomac River. That's going to be a great event. I actually will tune into that one because I think that's a shallow water
When is
slugfest, man.
No,
So-
I'll be at the river, smash him in the face with a
I mean,
Well, we'll have to ask David if he's.
I'll
gonna
be
go
there
down.
too, but we'll turn it on our cellular telephone.
We'll have
so.
to find if Fuchs is going to go down and check him out.
Yeah.
He fishes the Potomac from time to time.
I
Like,
want to
he
go
goes
there
down
too.
there.
I want
wanna
to
go
just
fishing
I just want to catch a snakehead. I mean, I catch bass everywhere. I want to catch a snakehead.
Every year I make plans to go with Fat Cat, and I have not gone yet. I need to go do that because he's on them bad boys.
Yeah, he is, dude.
And then
Last but
Saginaw
not
Bay
least.
and River.
Still an NPFL location.
Well, they had to get one event to get people excited.
Saginaw Bay, man, that is a really, really cool fishery. Lots of grass, a lot of variety. Smallmouth, largemouth can be won with both, depending on the time of the year.
When are they going there?
They're going to be there in August.
Yeah.
So
So
what was Seth telling us? Because I forget when they went there, but he was saying their smallmouth. They weren't out as deep. I mean, they were still like.
they're usually there in like July, so they're going to be the smallmouth will be out in the lake.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, he
okay.
was talking about them being in the bays.
If it's
Yeah.
if they don't let them go out in the lake outside of like Saginaw Bay proper, you can win with largemouth. If you can leave the bay and go into Lake Ontario proper, you're not going to win with largemouth.
So-
Hey, especially
if
because,
people can get out onto the lake.
especially since it's every fish count.
That's
I mean,
right.
you go fish that grass for there's, Seth was telling us like there's tons of largemouth,
There are.
and he was catching.
And
50, 60 a
and
day,
Josh
so-
Watkins was talking about his strategy last year with the MPFL. He I'm not going to say where he went, but where he went, he caught over 50 fish, right? And in one location, power pulled down or raptored down, whatever. And he was just whacking them. Now, what's the fish minimum?
It's 2 pounds.
Okay, so that's a factor right there. 2 pounds is a huge factor because you catch a ton of 14-inch fish on that lake.
They're not going to be 2 pounds.
And they're not going to be 2 pounds because it's so late in the
And
year.
even with every fish counts, I can go out and catch 34-pound smallmouth.
Right. Yeah.
And so you're 42-pound
if
largemouth.
the weather's going to let you do it.
If you can get out there.
Right. Yeah.
Which August is usually pretty favorable for not having
And the
having
smallmouth,
bad weather.
if they want to go out there, they're going to slam, but they won't catch as many as they used to because of the new technology
Oh, they
rules.
will.
You think so?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
I'm curious.
we had, I mean, look, I can use Erie for example. I had as many 100 fish days on Lake Erie with 2D as I ever had with forward facing.
Well, but you gotta you lived there.
yeah, but
you
you,
know
just
what I
have
mean.
to find. All they have to do is find a school fish.
What do
they
you
won't need?
Okay, let's go here.
The,
So
the thing with the way they did it with forward facing is they were hunting 5-pounders.
yeah,
Now you can run over a school of fish and know that they're 3-pounders, and you can sit there and catch 100 of them
Well, it's just
because you don't need those roaming
it's,
5-pounders.
It's just one of those things, like because everyone watches when these guys are doing it, like they're making a cast when they see a fish,
sure.
yeah.
even if it's a big school,
Yep.
right? So it's a higher percentage too. They're seeing how they react to the baits, and they're
Mhm.
not, except for that one period, they're not going to have that feedback information. So there will be more blind casting,
Mhm.
and there will be just not as much knowledge to see how those fish are reacting. They're still going to catch a pile, but
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to be necessarily as high.
yeah.
I think a lot of people are about to be surprised because they forget how good the Great Lakes are without forward facing.
Yeah, yeah. I
Maybe
mean,
better because the
well,
fish got smart, so-
Michigan. I mean, let's be honest. Michigan fish are dumb.
They are.
They bite.
The smallmouth are smarter though
Yeah,
because they do get pounded on.
but I'm wondering if there's actually going to be some sort of effect with them not getting pinged with a
there very
live
well
sonar
could
unit,
be
right?
I mean, We
Is
don't
it going to
know.
change fish behavior? Are we going to see data, change with the number of fish caught? I mean, has the BPT been to Saginaw Bay before?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
went last
So
year.
what we need to do is we need to pull up their stats, not now, but later on in the year, pull that and then put those side by side with the stats that they got going forward. Who
And
are you
think about it one period, you're going to know
You're gonna
how
know.
the fish are reacting to what baits, and
Yeah,
then all
you're
you have to do
dialed
is
in
find
from
those schools of fish.
But you're right. They're not going to be able to hit that OG out there that's swimming in the depths,
that
5
6-pounder
pounders,
that's out there all by itself.
It's like, yep, he's just going to keep cruising by.
They're going to find the schools, fish a school, but like that, scanning around. Oh, there's a little boulder there that's got fish on it, and toss it. Like it's not going to be quite the same, but they're still going to hammer them.
All right, this is stage 7, last event of the year. We covered all those other ones: Red Crest, heavy hitters, all the regular season events. We're all the way up in Michigan. August, who's your pick for Saginaw Bay?
Destin Connell.
Okay. Pete's going through the angler list real quick.
Because I can't think of the guy's name. I have one I want to pick because he's a dude that's been smashed him in the face on the Great Lakes.
I mean, I had a
forward-facing sonar every came around.
I don't think
he's a former Bass Pro Tour Angler of the Year, Matt Becker.
Okay, he's going with Matt Becker. He
lives in Tennessee now, grew up in Pennsylvania, spent a lot of time on the Great Lakes, jacking with 2D.
Yeah.
I think he's a guy that knows how it goes up there. So I think he'll have a good.
Fortunately, this is late in the year and it's not a smallmouth spawn. So
no. So I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna go out here. I'm gonna go with Michael Neal on this one. Right, yeah. Michael Neal, great deep water fisherman. Knows how to throw a Ned rig, knows how to throw a drop shot, knows how to throw a shaky head, has a lot of experience without forward-facing sonar too. And, those guys, Michael Neal, where is he from originally? Is he from Alabama, Pete, or Tennessee?
Life,
yeah. So
Fletcher Shyrock is a good option here too.
So I'm gonna go ahead and go with Neal on that one.
Shryox, they're from Ohio. He's got a lot of experience on the Great Lakes too. So he's a guy that probably remembers the 2D days out there, swagging them.
Yep.
Yeah. So, well, that wraps up all 7 stages.
Yep. Who's your AOI 2025?
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to get to. Well, I'm going to go Jacob Wheeler just because he wins it every other year.
Yeah, I'm going Jacob Wheeler because since 2021, he's only lost one. And he was second that year.
Yeah. So
he won 21, 22, 23, 21, 22, did not win 23, won 24, finished second in 23. And I have a feeling he's going to be extra motivated because I'm sure he's sick of everybody talking about how he's not going to compete since they took away forward-facing sonar. And I don't think that's a guy that you want to have extra motivated.
So you guys are going Wheeler for AOY.
Yeah, I am. It's hard to pick.
Yeah. I'm gonna pick Neal. I'm gonna pick Neal for AOY.
Great pick.
And just because his stats show that he's always there. But yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting. I picked. I know we're not on MPFL, but I picked the Bass Warrior, Luis Fernandez for MPFL Angler of the Year. Seth got really mad about that. But this is fun. I like picking these things. I wanted to ask. So we covered all.
I'm not going to pick Wheeler because he did. I'll pick somebody else.
All right,
so go ahead and talk. Let me think for a second.
So what I wanted to know from you guys before we wrap this deal up. So we got some changes. We talked about those. We got less anglers on the water. We got restricted use of forward-facing sonar. We got all those other changes, right? Do you guys think that the minnow will be not a tool used without forward-facing sonar?
It's 1,000% going to be used.
It's going to be 100% going to be used.
Yeah.
Because people were throwing that way before forward face sonar.
And you still got a period to go out there and swag.
It's just a little swim bait on a jig head.
Yeah.
People have been doing that like all over the country.
Yep.
All sorts of conditions for a long time.
I had a 300-pound day by standers on Lake Erie on a minnow without forward facing. I had a 17-foot aluminum boat with a 9.9 on it and caught 300 pounds of fish.
Yeah.
Like it's not going anywhere. it's not even that it's not going to be as effective. The mid strolling and all of that is still a technique when you get into a school fish that is suspended.
Yep.
You're just not going to be able to sit there and jiggle it in front of their face till they eat it. That's going to be the only.
So are we going to see, and then my last question to you guys.
And I'm going Brian Thrift for AOA.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of
I think
lakes.
what you might see is kind of return the drop shot, especially in some of these lakes if they're chasing smallmouth instead of jighead minnow, and they're using their 2D and they're doing more vertical fishing type of stuff. Then I think you might see the drop shot come back a little bit stronger.
I think you might see a rig that we saw somebody that fishes the Elite Series throwing. Everybody was making fun of them, where they put a slip bobber and a minnow on to keep it in a certain water depth.
His name rhymes with Scott Martin.
Yeah, his name starts with Martin.
Yeah,
Scott Martin.
And he did that, right? He did.
Yeah.
I think he did that in Alabama. He was throwing it up against a dam, right? It was a genius.
And it was keeping the strike zone. It's not illegal. And you could potentially see guys get creative and do something like that.
Yeah.
To keep it, knowing those fish are set up in 15 feet, you can't watch your minnow.
Yep.
I just put it on a slip bobber and let it drift over them. And
I got a whole pile of slip bobbers in the boat.
You know?
Not that we're restricted, but if it comes to that, right, you should start practicing those techniques. The last question I got for you guys
is the third last question. By the way.
No, this is the last question. Do you think because guys are so dialed into their screens in 2024, and what that has done, in my opinion, has taken away the angler interaction with the camera, right? Because they're so hyper focused on. Do you think we're going to see more anglers talking to the viewers?
No.
No, I don't think so, because we all get nostalgic before forward facing sonar, but so much of that time, even guys, if they're going down the bank flipping, like you're just watching their back too.
Here's the thing. We all remember the guys talking to the cameras when the production was the story of the tournament. It wasn't watching every minute of a guy fishing a tournament.
Yeah.
There's no story to tell anymore. You're not jumping to a guy and say, tell us about your day. What have you been doing? Right. Now we can pick a camera and watch that guy the entire day. He doesn't need to interact with the camera. There's still going to be people that do because that's what they do. And that's what they've always done. They talk to the cameraman. They talk about what's going on, but it's not going to change. The storytelling in bass fishing is what's dead. And everybody tried to blame forward facing. When we went to live tournament coverage, that entertainment factor went away because they weren't building the story anymore. Everybody remembers the old Bassmaster, the Bassmasters, and you had
hour-long
Cobb coming on there. It was an hour long, and they started at blast off, told the story of the day. Aaron Martins catches a 5-pounder, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, what's it going to be when they get to weigh?" And nobody has any idea. They built the story, and the anglers had 45 seconds to give an interview. How'd your day go? I've caught him pretty good. I think I need one more. You don't have to have that anymore. It's all on Bass Track Live now, or what's MLF called? Score Tracker. Weigh Fish Live in the MPFL. Everybody's weights relatively, at least somewhat close. Yeah. Unless you're a guy that sandbags like Patrick Walters, you might have 32 pounds and have 12 in the Score Tracker. It happens.
But you can't do that in MLF.
No, you can't do that in MLF. So exactly the weight those guys have. So I don't think it's going to change, and I hope it wakes people up to the understanding that it wasn't the technology that took away from the entertainment in fishing. It was the lack of storytelling that went away.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. Used to be left in suspense and there was a lot of excitement, that hype, things like that. But now it's just, it's kind of mundane, man, when you watch 5, 6, 7, 8 hours worth of coverage and you're like, I can't really know who's going to win.
That's why I still like bass, because they shut off the live or the Bass Track. I think it's 2 hours before weigh-in. A lot can happen in that last 2 hours. MPFL does the same thing. So you don't know.
Right. And they want you to tune in at
and watch the weigh-in.
Watch the weigh-in, right?
And I get why Bass doesn't, because they're going by score. I think they felt like maybe the suspense would be a little bit more. There are some tournaments where you feel it when guys are back and forth and they need a pound, and you can feel that grind to try to get one bite in the last couple minutes. But overall, fishing is not entertaining like it used to be, and people can get mad. I don't enjoy watching any of it as much as I used to. Yeah, I still do. I prefer to turn into the weigh-in, like for BASS. Same with the MPFL. I like watching the weigh-in. I like hearing the guys talk. Talk about their day, seeing what they caught. But to sit down and watch a derby anymore. Yeah, it doesn't really do anything for me.
Yeah, because Bassmaster started live production in
With
2015.
With ESPN.
It's
Well,
not
no,
that
2000. I'm talking the live that we know now
Oh, 2015.
from the internet, where it's constant coverage.
Gosh, it's
2015.
10 years old.
Yeah.
We're old.
Well, and they did longer live blocks when they signed the deal with ESPN in the early 2000s. So they've been the storytelling of bass died in the late 90s when they went away from the 1 hour.
But I would argue, and I know we're kind of changing, like the ESPN coverage, and even if you watch the coverage on Fox or FS1 now, like that is different than the internet live production.
That's true.
Yeah.
So because you've got more commentators. I know Bassmaster and MLF has commentators for most of their coverage online too, but it was just a different production element.
It was, yeah.
You know, so
Especially with ESPN when they had helicopters chasing them from blast off. And remember that? They would get the helicopter view of all the boats racing down the lake.
but now we got that everywhere because of drones.
One out
Everyone's-
drone. It's just not the same though.
It's not.
It's not the same.
It's Well, listen, guys, we went through the Bass Pro Tour 2025 schedule. We broke down some of the anglers that are fishing it. We gave you our favorite picks for who's going to win each derby and then Angler of the Year. We hope you guys have a great time tuning in. That Lake Conroe is going to be an interesting one. Pete, Ben, you guys got anything before we close this out? Appreciate you guys joining us. Leave us a review on any of the platforms we talk about and help us to continue building a culture of anglers, helping anglers one cast at a time.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, God, it's a toad, son. It's a toad, dude.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.